Hello, I'm Colin Bradley. I'm going to show you how to do this fabulous cat portrait using Faber-Castell Pitt Pastel Pencils. Let me show you what's in the box. Now, slide that off and you'll see that we've got a magic box. Now this is my own special selection box that Faber puts together for me of 24 pastel pencils. Let's open it up and show you. 2 layers of 12. Just ease this out and put it in there. And what I'll do is I'll lift this up with my eraser so you can see it better. There we are. Make sure you can see them all. There you go. Fabulous. Now, I selected these many years ago, and I've done a lot of work with just the 12 pencils. There's 60 in the range, and obviously it's an advantage to get them all. But the idea of this is to show you how I can do a pastel pencil picture just using a few of the colours. In fact, let me just show you what I've got. I've got pencils here. These are the pencils I'm going to be using, taken from the selection of this box. I'm going to use 12, and I may possibly dip in for more. On the other hand, I may not use them all. I don't know yet. When you start a picture like this, you're never really sure just how many pencils you're going to need and what colour pencils you're going to need. Anyway, I think you're going to really enjoy this. I'm going to enjoy showing you. So let's get started, and I'll show you then what paper we're using and how to get the best possible results from our pencils, our paper, and the techniques I'm going to show you. Now, the paper I'm using for this is PastelMat. It's sand-coloured PastelMat. I think it's going to be ideal. So I've got my 12 pencils, I've got the pastel paper, and now I've got a reference picture here which I'm going to follow quite closely, and I'm going to show you as we go along. I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to tuck it in here and you can see what I'm going to be doing at all times. And I'm going to start the ball rolling with the white pencil. Now, the pastel pencil medium works best from my point of view, working from a light to dark basis. Sometimes I change that, and sometimes I do it the other way around, but generally speaking, it's light to dark. So let me just show you how this is going to work out. Start with the light first, and in this case it's going to be the white. Like that. And this can go on fairly strong because what we want to do here is have a nice bright white. However, when you get into here, I'm going to change tact a bit. This time it's going to be lighter. One other little tip. It's quite possible for some of the pastel to smudge, or some of the oil from your hand can affect the paper if you're working like that. So what I usually do is put a piece of card or cartridge paper to protect the paper, and this is what I'm going to do now. Okay, so let's get this going. Work in the direction that we see the hair or fur lying in. Like that. Now, when we get down here, you can see we've got a little bit more colour involved. So let's just do that first of all, and I'll show you how we tackle that. Now, I'm using the white now as a base colour, and I should be putting some colour into that. And I'm dragging it to the edge of that. And you can see on the reference picture, you can see that we've got black around here. So let me show you how I'm going to do that. Now I haven't made that solid. I have here, but I haven't here. And now I'm going to use a pink. And this pink, it's 131 in our Faber range. You don't want too much of this, just a little. I'm holding the pencil here very loosely because I don't want to put too much colour into it. That's the pink. And another colour I'm going to use is this grey. This is 273 in the Faber range. It's a little grey as well, just added to the pink. Same idea, nothing too strong. But you can see now we're very much representing that. Now, as we got this in our hand, what I'm also going to do is to go onto the outer edge of this. Now this is black, as you can see, but we don't put black on. It's very rare, if ever, I put black directly on to paper. It's my rule. It becomes much too harsh. So what we do, we put the grey on, and there'll be other colours as well. I'm going to be doing this too, so that we get a nice... Now I'm going to bring you a little bit closer now. I wanted to pull away so you can see like an overview of what I'm doing, but now I'm going to show you. I'm going to come a little closer as I finish this off. Now to continue that, grey around here. You don't have to press very hard when you're putting the base colours in. Now here, just there, I'm taking advantage of the paper. If you look at this, you'll see that it's got a kind of sandy looking addition to this. I'm still covering the paper, but I'm leaving some of it to show through. Now that's too harsh a line. As you see, it graduates. So what we do here is pull the colour from here into the white. You might be looking and thinking, there's a bit of white up there, Colin. Yep. Well, I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Now the grey comes down to about there. It's best to be tentative to start off with, because certainly as you get more confident, you can start being a little more bold. Now we are going to be putting white back into this again. Bring the hairs back in a minute. But I want to show you something else now. This is what we call a colour shaper. Now you don't have to use it. If you haven't got one of these, don't worry about it. But if you can get hold of them, and you can, most art stores have got something similar to this. And we sell them in our art store as well. And what this does, it gives you a little bit more of a blend. I'll show you what I mean. See, that smooths it down a bit, so we don't have it quite so strong. And it also works in the same way here. It's almost like a paintbrush, but we're not using any water on here. There we are. That looks good to me. I'm just going to, again, I still have got just a little bit of that line being obvious, and I don't want that. I want the transfer or transition between here and here to be much better than that. So that now is really good. What about that little bit of white up there? Oh goodness me, well I better put it in, hadn't I? You can put, because we're using PastelMat, the PastelMat paper allows you to put colour like that in. That's all I want at the moment. And now the big guns, black. You've got to be careful with this. Nothing too strong. I'm just going to do that as I see it on the reference picture. There we are. Now the black. I've got to be careful here. It's so easy to overdo the black, and you don't need to at all. So be very tentative. Come down here. As we get on to the coat of the animal, that will be much stronger, you'll see. And I would suggest you do it like I am at the moment. Don't press too hard to start off with. I'm going to come down a little stronger on that edge, like that. Like that. And again, the transition, now it's not so, you can see it doesn't come out quite so far now, just on that edge. And in here, it's the same idea. On top of the grey, remember. On top of that other area. Once again, being quite light with my stroke gives me the colour I want. Now this is not a colour I've added, it's a colour I've left as the pastel paper colour. Now if you're using a different colour pastel paper, you won't be able to do that. But that's, I think you'll agree, quite straightforward. But I do want the colour shaper again coming in and again aiding the transition between that and that. Now I am interfering with the white hairs, but you will see in a tick or two that will be taken care of. In fact, what we can do is just bring this slightly further over, because we're going to put some white back on here. We can afford to be just a little more contrast right on the edge of it, if that is a good idea. Like that. Another thing you can do is, if you've got one of these and you can pick up some of the colour, you see I've picked up the colour on there, and you can use that quite successfully to just add a whisper, I said whisker then, that's because I'm thinking of cats. Just a whisper of colour like that. You see how nice that's looking? Right, now I'm now going to come back in with the black, but I'm going to make it a little stronger. What I'm going to do is actually turn this round. Why are you doing that, Cole? Well, the reason is you want to use the natural angle of your hand. In this case, it's like that, instead of going up like that. So it gives me an opportunity to show you how we can now use the point of the black just to give ourselves a stronger edge to that. And I should be doing that everywhere I've got the strong black line on it. And when I turn it around, you'll see quite a difference. There you go. Good. Now that's lovely. Now, what we can now do is we can bring the white back. Just come back in here, because we may have interfered with this edge. And if we have, we want to bring it back again. So that looks good to me. And then we can use the point of the pencil to put the hairs in. Again, turn it round. Let's turn this round as well so you can see both. And we then, this time, we are going to press a little harder, because I want to put the hairs in like that. They can come back that way as well, so that it looks as though it's much coming from the stronger areas. That's a little bit more, you can see that's just an emphasis of white. Now, if you're working from a reference picture, it's a good idea to try to keep in touch with that as well. And I wouldn't do any more, I'd leave that alone. So let's turn it back the other way, and I think we're going to get that as good representation. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way across here, across there, and doing exactly the same thing. There's no need for me to talk anymore because basically I've showed you what I'm going to be doing there, and it's repeated all the way through here. So, but I'll show you little bits of that as we go along. Now I've come back in because I want to just explain to you what I'm doing now. Remember I did say it's important to work in direction of the fur or the hair. Well, you can see now how I'm going to be doing this. I'm going back into the white, but I'm going to bring the white back again over the top of this later. So I can afford to be just a bit bold with my black, but not too bold. And what I'm doing is working in the direction that I see the hair lying in. You can do your best here to try to emulate what you've got there, but you're never going to be exact. You've got to rely really on the white going back in again when we're ready. This is where the fur changes direction. Why is this important? Well, you'll see when you see the end product, you'll be able to see my pencil strokes. And if you were to do that, and do that, and do that, and so go, that's what you'd see. It's painstaking, but it is worth it. Just make sure you've got that transition between that and that. Okay, that's good. Let's just do that a little bit. Nice continuity now. Now I won't do the other side, but I'm going to do all of this side for you to show you how we do it. Now, once again, though we're using grey and we're using black, we've still got, remember, the sand-coloured paper underneath this, just as I showed you previously. So that sand-coloured paper is also having an influence. And if you look at the picture, it's not actually dead black. It's got that sandy look to the grey or the black. And it's a great asset to have paper that gives you that advantage. Just come in. I can't do very much of this. I haven't finished down there. But that'll be the next thing I'm going to show you. So we come into there, and I've done a lot of animals in my time, so I kind of know how the hair lies on them. Because when you've got a dark animal this, you can't readily see it. If it's a tabby cat, you would be able to. You see the strokes much more clear. But with a black cat, you can't so easily. So you have to do what I'm doing. Painstakingly put it in like you see me, filling it up, gradually working across so that up here you're going straight, and then you're coming across here, across here, across here until you get to there. When you're coming almost horizontal. When you get down here, we'll be doing that kind of stroke, but that's coming. Now, having done that, what I would do in this instance is use the colour shaper. Exactly the same idea there. Don't deviate it, don't go that way or this way or every which way. Use the same strokes as you did with the pencil. Now you should now be able to see that fur lying in the direction that I intended it to. But there are, and if you look at this you can see, there are certain areas of the fur that's a little darker than others. Now what I'm going to do now is switch it, turn the colour shaper over because I want to do it the other way. If I'd used this side, it would have been putting the black on. But using this side, you can see what's happened. The transition is much, much better. Got it? Anyway, now what I was saying, some of these areas are darker than others, so you can go back in with the black again and just pick out areas that you can see on the reference picture. I can see this darker, It's a little darker, a little bit darker around there, although I haven't got that bit yet. But another coat is not a bad idea. And what I'll do then, I won't show you this because it's exactly the same, only in reverse as this. And we can move on. And the next thing I'm going to show you will be coming down around the eyes. Why not the eyes, Cole? Well, I work my pictures most of the time doing a surround of the eye areas so that I can have a better idea when it comes to filling it in. That looks good, doesn't it? It's going to look better with the whiskers. Or, you know, I can't put those in yet. Well, I can, but I choose not to. Now, just up here, what I'll do is come back in with the white and just put just a little bit more white in there, representing this top area of the cat, where the lights, it's like catching, like that. Got it? That's going to look great when it's finished. So I'm going to do the other side now, and then I'll show you the surround of the eye, which is really interesting. I know the eyes are going to be fascinating, but this area here too looks weird before the eyes are put in, but once the eyes go in, oh gosh, I can't wait. Now we've got the around the eyes to sort out. What I'm doing is using the grey pencil just to outline both eyes. And I'm going to put the light on. I'm just being very careful here because you don't want to crush the eye. It's so easy to make them too small. So I've just gone around the outside like that. Okay, let's do the other one, the other side. I'm going to, once I finish this, I shall put the white on. There we are. Good. I'm just thinking, I'll change my mind, I think, on this. I'll just use the grey just to do the edge where it meets the white fur. Sometimes when you're doing a picture, you work instinctively, and you'll see what I mean. Well, you're looking at this, you see, the same as I am. So you can see that what's happening is just putting it's not as even as you'd expect, but pretty well. Yes, it's quite, let's come down the outside edge. I'm sorry my narration's a little bit spasmodic. The reason is that I'm concentrating and getting it right. I think that looks to me to be about right. Okay, now the white. Now the reason I said that I would put the white on because it's easier to cut in with the dark colours than it is to cut in with the white. If I made a mistake, or no, not so much a mistake, if I wanted to alter the shape, the lighter colours, it'd be easier to do it with the black than it would be to the white. I think you'll probably understand that. And I'm going to do the same thing again as I did with the grey. I'm just going to outline this. It is actually very, very important to get the right colour tone in the right place there. I mean, it's not as critical as it would be if it was you were doing somebody else's animal. Then you'd have to be exact here. It only matters that you're seeing how I'm interpreting. But if I can change it slightly, because it's no one's animal. They're not going to be fussy. See the idea? Now I won't bore you and show you the whole thing, but you've got the idea of that. Now what I shall do then is, again, it's always worth working in the direction that we see the hair lying in. Even though when you look at that you can't distinguish the hair very easily, but it does make a difference. So I shall carry on with that. I'll go down, probably I'll skirt the nose. I won't actually reach it. I'll just show you where as far as I'm going to go there, because what I want to put in is the eyes. So I shall do that, and I'll come down to about there. Don't think we need to come any further down, because the black will take over again down here. Like that. And then, once I've done that, we put the black in. And again, working in that third direction. Let's do a little bit of this, and then I can get on and show you little sections of this before we tackle the eyes. But you'll notice all the time I'm concentrating on the angles and the direction of the hair of the cat. And I'll follow that once I finish it with the black on top. Okay, so got this to do, and then we'll come back and look at the put the black on, and then we'll tackle the eyes. Now for the eyes. First thing we do is put the light in the eye. I'm going to put one on the other side, although I've gone really close up here. You can't see the other eye, but I think I'll do it so that you can see where I'm going. It's a slightly different position. Move that one over, but I've had to come close, so we're only going to do the one eye. Next colour we haven't used yet, is ivory. And this is a ochre eye, as you can see, so we need a suitable base colour, and ivory is ideal for this. Now I'm going to deliberately leave the very dark pupil of the eye for the moment. Now this is another technique that you'll see me use a lot if you look at more of my work. It's a round circular movement. It actually pushes in colour into the paper and it leaves no streaks, very smooth. Now I'm going to have to darken the eye quite considerably up here, but we've still got to put the ivory in. And here I can perhaps overdo the size of the eye, because we can cut in with the darker colours. And this is where we can start making a few adjustments. That looks just about right to me. Now I'm going to use this is unusual, I haven't done this before, but I think in this case I'm using the very dark green. This is 173 for the ground base colour for the pupil. I'm also making the pupil just a little bigger than it is on here. You see, it's just to barely see it. There we are, that would be great. Now, next colour is going to be the ochre. This is 183. Same idea as with the ivory, round circular movements. I'll stop halfway and you can see how this is working. You see that? If you put the ochre on its own, it would have been too dark. You need the light colour underneath to put it's a base colour I call it, but it's a backlight in it. Now looking at the reference picture, you see this is too bright. So we need to calm it down. And with that, we need the grey, 273. And again, I'll stop halfway and you can look at the eye that I'm showing you. And I think you'll agree now that that is pretty close to this in colour. But you wouldn't have believed it, would you, if I hadn't shown you the base colours. So although it's ochre, I wanted to subdue that. So let's continue with that. Still the same circular movement. Not pressing hard. Now I can see that what we've got to do is change this. Come back in with the black now. We can afford to be a little bit more adventurous now. Shape the eye better. bring in the black. Barely. That line is very, very thin. You can actually make it just a little thinner if you want. I don't think I need to, but if you did overdo that, you can use the white back again and bring it back. Still don't like this bit, so let's carry on. The dark colour is determining the shape. And there's a shadow in the eye as well. But before I do the shadow, let's do black on top of the green, which gives us the pupil. As I say, this is being made up because it's not representative of that. But that doesn't matter. Another colour, which I haven't used yet, and I'm going to use now, is 175. Now, I'm hardly going to use this at all in this picture, but there are places, and this is one of them. I want to darken that. I could use the black, but that would have been too fierce. So 175 is a very dark sepia. And this will change the dynamics of the eye considerably, as you can see. And down there on the other side, coming down. I'm now closely following what I see on the reference picture. And that can follow down here as well. Very light touch. The PastelMat paper that I'm using is very responsive. You don't have to be very strong, and you don't have to use a lot of pressure. And that's coming up really well. However, now we need to come back in with the black, and now we can be bolder, because now I can see what I need to do there. And I think I'm just going to extend just a little bit more ochre on that edge there. And then I'm going to come back in with the green. This is 173 again, what I used in the eye to start with. And I'm going to put some green in with the 175, just to change the tone of the shadow just a little. And in a minute, I'm going to put some ivory back in. Just come down there. We're mixing the colours now together. 175 and a little bit of green, and that can come into the eye as well. Now there are other colours which I'm going to add, not necessarily because I can see them, just for effect. And one of them is this one. Now this is 186. It's got just a little touch of its browny ochre colour. Very, very attractive, as you can see. I don't think I need any more of that. It was just a touch. A bit more white. And just a shade more of the 175, just to darken that just a little more. It's best to go in increments. Don't try to do everything all at once. And finally a bit of black. I say finally, we're going to be putting some some whiskers on over there in a minute, as you can see. Make a big difference. Now, if you're brave enough, you can just flick the white into the black. Gives it a nice little touch. And then, now that's pretty much done. Now, I'm going to pull back now. You can have a look at it, but it looks pretty good, and I think I'm going to leave it alone. And I'm going to do the other one. Now, the other one, I won't spend a lot of time on it. You've already seen the colours that I've used, so I will show you little sections of that as we go along. So that's got most of it done now. I'm just using the 175 just to darken putting the shadows in. Come down the edge, I think, as well. And in here. I think this particular eye is more in shadow than the other one. It may pay me just to very lightly darken that eye completely. You can see now I've done it, you can see how much darker it is on the reference picture. But you've got to be careful. Very light touch. That's good. You can hardly see anything at all up here. No, hardly any definition. So I'm going to bring the black down a little more as well. Like that. Just put the pupil in a little more. Now, use a green. This is what I did before on the other eye, but it just mixes with the 175. Great. I don't think I really want to do too much more to that. 106 I used here, and this is this ochre tone. I can't necessarily see it in the picture, but I've used it before on other pictures and it works well. And that's good. Now, I've got to do the same as what I did with this. Remember, I cut in here. Well, I'm going to do the same with that. Just cut in the white a little bit. Shapes the eye that little bit better. And then with the black, just that in as well. Good. The light as well. Now, I did say I was going to use some ochre, and I haven't used it yet. Well, I have. I've just started here. An ochre. I'm sorry, ivory. You just put ivory in. Ivory is a fantastic blender, I've found, with other projects. So just very lightly touching it in, you can see how much I've lightened that eye up. You can do the same with this one, but not quite as much. Still use it, as I say, like a blender, but very, very light, just on this edge. You can just see, just on that edge there. There we are. And there is the eyes done. So, next job is to bring the light down. Now, this is, as you can see, it's white, 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 white. So how are we going to distinguish it? Well, if you look at this, you can see there's some shading, and that's what we're going to be doing. Now, you've got to be careful because you'll lose the lines if you're not careful when you bring the white down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that area first. Ignore the nose for the moment. We'll be coming back into that. Just cut round it like that. Very attractive, you'll find this. Now, I'm coming down and I'm doing this bit, so follow me. It's a bit disjointed, and but it's the only way I can show you how to put this in. White and black animals are notoriously difficult. If you've got a tabby cat, it's a bit easier because you've got different tones and different colours. Now, I'm going to follow this through like this. To join up with that. I'm not going to do the top though, just yet. There's nothing worse when you're doing a picture and you lose it. Oh, now where do I go? Because the colours have all obscured your reference. I think I can afford to probably link that up there. That's it, and then leave that. Now this is the bit you can just about make out, I think, what I've done there with the pencil. But what I do is this. I leave a shadow. Not a shadow, it's the paper coming through. And then to the bottom, like this. Now you may find that you want to do it differently to me, and that's fine. But I've done this a few times and I know that you've got to be so careful not to lose your reference. Got it? So using that there, and that could be filled in a little later on. There's another area here, just there, coming down here. So let's do that too. Now I'm going to follow that line that cuts into, put my finger in so you can see what I'm looking at. Comes down here and then links up to there. But if you were to carry on, you'd lose that line that I've got there. So what we come down is the other side of that line. I won't bore you and show you the other side because once you've seen this side done, you know where I'm going. Now I've got to be careful here because we're going to run into there. So I skirt around that, leaving the paper showing through. Now, having done that and showed you that, I can now do the nose as well. Same idea, just very lightly go on top of the nose here, which is going to be pink with your white. Once you've done that, you can then fill it in. And once again, you're left with the nose in all its glory. But surely there must be some shadows in here. Well, yes, and this is what I'm going to show you next. I'll leave this for the moment, but I shall do that the same way as I've done that. Looks a bit weird, I know. But, and as I say, if you can find another way of doing it, do it. But be prepared to lose your picture and think, oh my goodness, now what do I do? Now, what I want to show you now is we can use ivory and we can use grey. Let's pull that across a bit. You can't see them I'll pull back. Ivory and grey. I'll leave them there. Now, to start with, we use the grey. What we want to do is very, very lightly put some grey here. You might just be able to make that out on the reference picture. Follow that down and on the nose, this side of the nose. In a minute, this is where the colour shaper will come into its own. On the other side, same idea. Just a little bit of grey in there. There's a very bright light area there. So it might pay you just to put just a little more white in that bit. And again, follow down on the other side of the nose. This is a shadow area, right? Now there are other areas, so let's do them too. There's some. Oh, I can't do that. I can't do that side. I'll have to do this side. And this is where we can start thinking about filling up that line. This won't work unless you've got a good application of the white on. And another area is here. I think you're going to be very surprised when I show you what this looks like in a minute. But I'll have to carry on here before I can show this to you. There's also just a little bit, but not much here. It just gives contour to the picture. And I shall be doing the same thing over here in a minute. But I want to show you the ivory. That's the ivory that is key here. The ivory goes on top of the grey, making it more creamy. Like that. Right, and now we use the colour shaper. Clean it off first though, get all that black off. And I use my finger, or my thumb, to get it off. Don't wash them. If you wash that, you'd have to wait for it all to dry. And I don't wash these at all, I just use my finger. Makes my fingers dirty, but you can wash them later. So there we are, nice and clean. Now we use the colour shaper to blend that in. Don't worry if you feel that it's too strong, because we can put the white back. Now let me now show you how we can sort this out. Now it's actually the shadow comes right up to there, so the white actually now can be brought down into the area we left. See, like that. And you can carry on with that, making it look really attractive. Come by the side of that. You can always repeat it, put the grey on again and the ivory on again, but what we're left with is that. See? Magic, isn't it? Now let's carry on here a little bit more, because we can, then I'll do this bit, a bit light bit there, some light up there. What I'm doing now is cutting into the shadow that I did, giving it down there. So there's quite a strong white that comes from there down there. I may have to put just a bit more shadow on that, but you can see using your finger is ideal for this. See how that contour is coming? And here again, now we bring that down, but we've got a dark area there and under here too, so let's do that. What do I do first? Right, I think what we'll do, we'll fill it up like that, very lightly, and then we put the grey on like that. That gives it. That's it. Let's do the same thing on here. You don't have to put too much pressure on the light, otherwise you'll lose the reference. We've got that in there and that in there like that. I'll let's do one side. Now this bit here, you've got to decide which is the lighter. The lighter is there, this is the darker. So what we do, we make it just a little more of it. It's a bit complicated, but once you get the idea of this, you'll find it works really well. The grey, following on from there. And ivory. Blend it. Now that you've got that there, we can now fill this in, because we know where the light and the dark is. Just extend that just a little more. I hope that hasn't been too complicated for you to follow. And in there. You can even, when you've done that, even use a little bit of 175, which we were using, and put that in just a little to make that just that little stronger. And maybe a bit of ivory as well. If you haven't got a colour shaper, you'd have to do it with the pastel pencils. But now we need to brighten that up a little more. There we have a use your finger just to finally put that in like that. Now I'm going to do that all the way around there. Okay, so you can watch me and I'll show you again how I'm doing it. So keep my finger in there. back just a little more. You've got all the clues on your, well, you'll be looking at my reference, but all the clues will be here. You've just got to follow the technique that I'm giving you. But you can see how nice that is. So once I've done that, then we'll come back, we'll do the nose. But you could, once you've got that far, you can then, if you want to, and I think it's a good idea, come down with the fur as far as you want to go. I think probably a good idea would be to start this off, and this bit here between, because we've got the black in there. And I'm going to do it, but you don't have to, is to come down with the grey as well, like I showed you before, mapping that out so that you get the idea of where that's coming down here. And again, I wouldn't do too much more than that, but you can see how it's beginning to form and to look. The thing we've got to be careful of though, if we don't make that dark enough there, just there, when we put the white whiskers on, which we're going to have to do, they're not going to show up. So you've got to be, let's just show you what I mean by that. If you make that just a little stronger, I did say that you probably need a couple of applications to get this as you want it. Remember, grey, ivory are the two key colours. You won't necessarily anything darker than that. And then use your colour shaper or your finger, that would work as well. I'll show you. Don't worry that you might have made it too dark there, because you can come back with the white and reevaluate that. But when you put the whiskers on, we'll be able to see them across there. And we've got a background here, with a cracking background I'm going to show you, so it will show up. Okay, I don't think I need to go any more. I'm going to follow this through as I've showed you there, and down to about here, and then we'll drop back and finish this off and the nose off. Now for the nose. I've just started putting the white on, as you can see, and I've left a trace of the paper through there. And the other thing I've done is put just a little spot of grey in the nostril areas. Okay. And in that little division there wouldn't be a bad idea too. Now the next colour we're going to use is the pink. Now this pink would be too strong normally if you put it on raw, but because we're putting it on top of the white, you see how subdued it is. Same movement, round and round and round and round. And this can be general to start off with. And that's about all I would want at the moment. It's quite a light nose. It's not on the picture, it's quite light. And then we can use a colour shaper, clean it off. That would be fatal, wouldn't it? Put a bit of black on it and just clean it off. I've shown you how to do this, I think, already. If I haven't, then this is what you do. You use your finger or your finger and your thumb to get rid of it. Don't try to wash it off, otherwise you've got to wait for it to dry for one thing. And I've never washed them. Let's get rid of all the traces of the dark colour. There we are. And now we can just push that in. Now, as I said before, if you haven't got one of these, you're not going to be able to do this. But what you could do is this. You could use a white pencil and use the white pencil. I've got two whites, you probably gather, little and large. Now you see, the same system. You can get it nice and that way. Okay, now we've got to darken it. And this is, I'm going to restrict us to the 175 for the darkening of this. A bit more careful now, though. That's quite dark. But what I've done, what I want to do is to use the pink, come back again, on top of it. I'm losing the shape slightly. But it will work out, folks, don't worry. I've done it before. It's a little bit of grey now to put on the side, give it just a little bit of three-dimensional aspect, and down the bottom also will be in shadow. Now the pink comes back in. Now this time it goes on top of the 175. 175 being a dark sepia is a warm colour, so you can do this with it. Now again, I've lost the shape slightly, so back with the white, and that can then be used again like almost like a blender to blend it and shape the nose like that. That's the top. It's not quite right across the top there yet, but it will be. And it's lovely. And now a couple of little slightly stronger white there and there, because that's where the light's hitting it. And you see, like that. A bit of tarting up to be done there. And just a little tiny bit more. It's a bit like the eyes. Once you put the dark in, you can just use the lighter colours just to fashion it. Now this is what I don't like, so what I'm going to do is fuse the top of that by putting the white on, and I want to lose that line. That's lovely. Okay, I think I'm more or less there. I'm just going to put a little bit of shadow on the side here, on the side there, and then I think I'm going to leave it alone. It's best to leave it. If you overdo this, it's going to be spoiled, but leaving it like that is absolutely fine. Okay, let's move on. Now I'll pull back because I want to show you how I'm going to finish this off now. Now when you get to a portrait, you've got two choices with an animal. You can either bring it down like that and cut it off there, which I've done many, many times. It would work. But what would look nice here is making it into like mixed with the background. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Let's show you. It's better to show you than try to explain it to you. Bring back the white. Let's go and just do this little bit, this corner, then I can fill it up. Again, following the direction that we see the hair. I've still got work to do up here yet, but we can do that once we've got all the white in. And then bring the white back over there like that. And on this side, we've got the grey. Like that. Now it's going to look a bit scruffy until I get the background on. But what I'm going to do is finish it like that. Now we can bring the grey back into the white and the white into the grey. What we're trying to do is to do something like that. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. And because I'm changing this anyway, I can do my own thing when it gets to this. Just put your finger on just to blend that in like that. And then we come to the black. Now the black, because we've got the grey underneath, the black is never going to be that strong. And to start off with, I'm going to make it quite light, like that. Not quite as strong as that yet, but I will, as I move further down to here, put a little more pressure on the black. And that can then be pulled into the white. There we get the lovely transition between the black and the white. And over here, now I've got white on that edge, and the reason I did that is because the picture shows a light-ish, a bit like the top. Well, you can't see that, but up there, okay, same sort of idea. It also puts a nice design in it, I think, and separates it. And that can come in like that. It doesn't have to be perfect white. In fact, it won't be, because I'm going to put the black and the grey into it. And then black into it, but not too strong. I try to imagine that it's fur. Now I've made that a little stronger than it is on the picture, but I've done that deliberately to balance the picture up nicely. Okay, now colour shaper. A lot of work to be done here in a little while, but you've got to get the foundation in before you can do that. And we can drag some of that dark into the white, and we'll be doing it the other way round. Put a bit of pressure on this so that you attain what the fur-like look that we're looking for here. You'll be very surprised when I put this background on here, just how nice this is all going to look. Now that's not bad. Do I want it darker? Well, I think I do a little, simply because of what I said before. I want to try to balance it up, but I want it by degrees. I don't want it too strong. I think that will probably be fine. Right, that's it. I've got another little bit down here to do in a little while. So I'm going to finish this off the same way, but what I shall do, to show you again what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to come to, I'm not worrying too much about this bottom because that is going to be faded into the background. But as I come down here, I'm going to change direction slightly so that when I get over here, I'm doing that. Got me? Anyway, I'll show you little bits of that as we go along. But that's going to be filled in. Then we're going to come back and put a few little details here, which is on the reference picture. I'll show you how to do that. And then, well, you'd think, well, we'll put the whiskers on. Well, that doesn't go on until we put the background on. Now, there's obvious reason, because if you look at the picture, the whiskers go over the background. So if I put the whiskers on, I'm going to rub them out with my finger when I do the background. So we can't put those in yet. I could put those in, but I think it's best to do it all at the same time. Patient job and all that. So let me do that. Okay, now finish the white. Now to put some of the ivory in. What we wanted to do is to paint a version of that. It's not going to take long to do, so I'll show you all of this. Following the same idea though, like that, like that, like that, and then over here, coming from that angle. The other colour I put in, and I've never showed you this, I put a little bit of pink in, but it's very little. It's just, you probably hardly see that going on, but it is. It pretties it up, which is the whole object of the exercise here, to make it attractive. Now, the other thing that I will tell you, that the pink and grey work really well together, and I haven't had a chance of showing you this yet, but I can now. Like that now. So just blend that in with your finger, or a colour shaper, whichever you prefer, but I prefer my finger. Still same idea though, following the direction that we see. Now that's fine. Now the grey works in conjunction with the pink, but it also puts a shadow, which we need here on this side. And do this in little bits. You don't want to do too much, otherwise you'd have to put the white back on. Do I like that? A little bit more. When you've got an expanse like this, you've really got to do something to make it more interesting. I started off here, put a little bit more ivory as well, and perhaps a little pink. And that, see what that looks like. Oh, that's nice. Good. Okay, well, I think I've got really what I want there. Now, these areas, let's just pull this across here so you can see what I'm doing. This is what I'm going to be doing. Let's tuck it in there. All right. Grey first of all. Now, you see the angle that we've got these? That's following the fur direction. So we've got to work the same thing. We can't do them all straight. They look odd. So let's put the first one in. Be tentative to start with. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's number 2. Doesn't have to be, folks. You can do what you like here. It doesn't come very far down. There's another one there. It's not quite so long. Let's put that in. Another one in. Comes to the corner here. Put that one in. Don't draw these on the. They won't be on the line drawing, because if otherwise you'd have a graphite mark coming through. There's another one there. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 series. So let's put another one in, coming at an angle like that. And there is one, this one here can also be included in that, like that. Right, now, first thing we do is to use the colour shaper. Get rid of the black. You might find this a bit tedious, but believe me, it's the only way. Actually, I don't mind just a tiny little bit of black on the end of there, because I can use that. And then you use that to blend it out. Now it's almost there, isn't it? Do we need it any more? Well, let's see what the finger will do, because that one, no, it's just about perfect. You don't need to do anything else than that. So there we are, that's done. If you were fussy, which I am of course, what you can do is put just a little white in here. And the idea is then it makes this just that little bit more of a depression in the fur. Don't have to do it, but I like it. Small things like that can make a difference. There we are. So that's it. Now, what's next? Well, what's next is I think we're going to have to do some work here. I'm using this smaller white simply because it's easier for me to handle. Now, although I'm not going to put any whiskers on, I'm going to try to replicate this area here, right? And I can do it with the small white going over the top of the grey. You can do this with a finger or a colour shaper. But it's a feature which I quite like on the animal. And we can stop when we get to there. Now what we can also do is this idea. How do you do that? Well, you bring it back, bring the white back. We can't really do it up there because it doesn't show very much on the... Well, having said that, it does. You could, if you really feel... Now, don't do this if you're in any way hesitant, but it is possible to do what I've just done down here. What about the other side? Well, there's a little... I'm using the side. You can see, if you look at the nib, you can see that I'm actually using the side, not the point. These are finishing touches that if you feel like doing them, do them. Actually, I'd do them anyway, even if you felt a bit hesitant, because you can always just rub with your finger or put some more black on. But I think that makes a really big difference. So there we are. That's basically the cat finished, apart from the whiskers, and we can't do that, as I said, until we put the background on, which is the next thing we're going to be doing. Now, how do you do backgrounds? People find this really, really hard, putting a background. I'm going to pull out again because you want to see the whole thing. Now, the background. We're going to use the greens. You see, this is a lovely background. I like that. So I'm going to do a variation of the thing. But if you look at the picture, you can see touches of ochre in it, dark green and this sort of mid-green. And you would suppose that you'd put green directly on. But that doesn't work, folks, because if you did that, it would be too hard. A bit like I've done with the picture, I've always cushioned the effects, which gives you a lovely soft finish. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put the ivory on. This is a long job, so I'm not going to bore you. I'm just going to do a little bit to show you how it's going to work. And what we're looking for here is a nice even coat. Now the danger here is if you overdo it, it's going to weaken the effect of the greens that we're going to be putting on. So that's about right. Blend it with your finger. It doesn't matter too much if you touch the subject, because we're going to be redoing that. There we are. Now that is perfect. I'm going to do that all over. So come back when I've done it, and then I'll show you the next colour. Okay, there's the so far, so good. Now I've left this because I wanted to show you how this works. Same approach. And just before you get up into that corner, just make sure that you've got a nice, even colour. That's good. Carry on. There you go. Remember, we've got lots more colour to put on here yet. Now this is, it's more difficult on the darker colours than it is the lighter ones. So let me start off with that. What you do is you go in between the two, right? Now there's two things you can do. You can either use your finger, like that, or you could use the colour shaper. And I think I'm going to use my finger, but if you're in any doubt at all, use a shaper. What we're looking for is to drag some of this colour back in to the ivory and some of the ivory into the grey, and what we get is that fusion. Now it's not easy, but as you can see, it's possible. Same thing happened down here. Just a little bit of blend. Here it's not going to show up so much until we get the other stronger colours on. But the same principle applies. But I think you get some idea of what this is going to look like when we finish. One other tip, be careful. I'm fine, but you see that little bit of wood? You may be able to pick it up. Now, if that touches the paper, it will score it. So the answer is, don't let it touch the paper. Sharpen it before you get that far. I'm using the other side, so it doesn't matter. Blend again, and again go into the white. Don't go too far into it, you just need the edges. And there we are, we've got a nice blend. Looks good, but it's going to look better. Now, the next operation, we don't want the white, Colin, put that away. I'm going to use the lightest of the greens. This is 140, and it's a good idea to do a bit of experimenting. So let's experiment up in this corner. This is different to the ivory. The ivory went on as a solid colour. This one, I don't want that to happen. I want it to have 2 or 3 colours mixed together. There's the first one, and the next one is a little slightly darker green. Not much, but it's just a little stronger. And there's a darker still. Now this is 173. It is quite strong. I used it in the eye. Just a little bit green. Now what we've got to do is make sure that we go up into the corner. So let's use a darker green for this. You're never really sure how much I'm going to actually show on my picture if I frame it or mount it. So I like to get right up into the edges. Like that. 173 as well. Now my finger will do the rest. Blend it. Now that's not too bad. It's coming up, but you see it's slightly streaky. And the reason for that is it's PastelMat paper doesn't like a minimum amount of pastel on it. It wants more. So all you do is do it again. Same idea. Second coat. 168. And I'm going to put a little bit of ochre in it as well this time, just a touch, and blend it. That's a much better, but it's still got slight streakiness to it. So what's the answer? Do it again? Well, yes, you could. The more you do, the better it's going to be. But what I would do is come back with the ivory again. Now, ivory is a natural blender anyway. So if you put ivory on top of that, that will help you. You'll see quite a big difference now between the two. And we've still got another coat to do altogether. Press quite hard with your finger so you get that really nice and smooth. There you go. That's what we're looking for all over. And then we'll come back and we'll start again. But this time we'll be using a lot stronger. Well, let me show you now. This next coat will be a stronger application and a stronger colour. Once again, right up into the edges. Remember, the more pastel you put on, the less streakiness you'll have, and the deeper the colour. Let's go to the bottom again. Now, I'm not going to show you all of this, just this bit. Turn it round. Blend that. This time, you see, we've got some little bit of cloudiness coming into it. That's because we've used a darker colour. And if we use this one, it'll be even stronger. Like that. So you keep going until you get what you're looking for. And what I'm looking for is that. So I'm going to carry on. It's going to take me a while to do, as you can imagine, but it's going to look great when it's done. And I'll show you little bits of this as we go along. Now we've got this bit, which is quite a tricky bit. However, watch how I do it. Plenty of pastel on here. We don't want to do this twice, but you shouldn't have to, because you can be working from up here as well. This is 170. What I'll do half of it, and then you can see, and then we can do the other half. You can see how it looked before and after. This swirling is the key to this, because we're going into the white here, remember, and into the grey. I mean, I suppose that you could leave it like that. I don't like that, but it would be easier if you did, instead of trying to combine it. This is 168 now, going in. Now, the 173, which is the dark one, I wouldn't put too much of this on. I like it on the corners more than I do up in here, but a little bit. And then the ochre, 183. Now, what we do is blend that. You see there's plenty of dust on there. Well, this is the key to this. That dust will go right into the paper, apart from what's on your finger. There's not on that, a lot on that, as you can see. So there we are now. As I said, you could leave it like that, but I'm not going to. Now we interfere with the white and the black. And that goes one way, then you go another. White again. Where's my white? Here we are. There's the white. White goes in, comes from here. Let's do the white first. Now, you do get some and some. But that's what I'm looking for. Now the black's more difficult, but still possible. Now, first of all, a little bit of grey. And a little bit of black. Turn it round, and then do the same thing again. You wouldn't think it would work, would you? But it does. And there we have the transition between all of them. Now I think that looks very attractive. It's like coming out of a cloud. You can imagine what that's going to look like. Well, I'm going to show you. Whoop, wrong one, Colin. No, it's the right one. 170 or 168 look very much like. Come up into that as well. Whatever you do, don't leave any pastel paper showing through, because that really would spoil the illusion. Once again, you see how much dust I'm creating? One 168. See, it's not uniform. I don't do it everywhere. I do it in random design. Just a touch of 173, but not much. This is the green. It doesn't look green there, does it? But it is. And the ochre, 183. And then leave the dust on. Probably a good idea to tap that so it drops away a little bit. And and we blend. With that, and then with the white, going the other way. Just a little bit of grey and a little bit of black. It's not much there, but I think we make it just a little more. A bit of black. And then your finger does the rest. Now that looks really nice. There's a couple of things I'm going to add a little bit of ivory in here. I've put some in here. Well, let's put some more in. Not much, I think just a little. And let's put some more white in as well. There. In fact, we could put some more white in. Thing is, play with it a little bit until you get what you want. That looks really nice. Well, now what I'm going to do is make you think the whiskers, wouldn't you? Well, I'm going to leave the whiskers for the moment because what I want to do, I want to go over the edges. Let me show you what I mean. Well, in fact, I'll sharpen my pencil up. That's a spare white I had, but I'm going to sharpen this one up and we're going to start putting the edges back because the background would have affected that a little. So let's put the edges back with the white, the black and probably the grey as well, those three. Now I'm starting up here, reinstated that light edge to the ear, and then we'll work our way down. What you're doing is picking up anything that might have been left over with the background. That's good. A little bit of white in here, and again. Now I'll turn it around the other way, and we come into here. I think probably what I'll do here is make it, use the grey. Maybe a little white as well. I want that to be a little lighter. That's nice. Stop there. But it would be wise to bring that in, otherwise it just looks a bit foreign if it's just on the edge. That's nice. That's nice. And this is nice too. That's one side done. Now I've got to move this round because what I don't want to do is touch the picture. So come in with black. Again, I was very careful when I did this edge, so you shouldn't have very much background colour on it. But it's just as well to go over it. I think it would have to be white again. where the lights caught the top of the head. Yes, that's better than grey, because otherwise if you put the grey on it would be less of a contrast. Right, and this is same again, white on the edge, and that goes all the way down to the bottom, believe it or not. Well, mine is anyway, like that. And around here, turn the corner. And then we've got the black. Taking over. Till we get to there. Now here, you saw the other side. It's a good idea to make it look like fur rather than just a line. It looks much more natural. Just like that. And then the white takes over. Get down here, it's just a little more hair extends because the hair's longer. I'm twisting the pencil around as I do this, and it keeps the point then. Nearly there. And black, I think, will come from there. I'm using black as opposed to grey because of the contrast. Get to there, and then I'd stop. Now the other thing is these hairs go on top of that. So a little bit of white now. And we'll call that finished. There. Well, it's not quite finished. Got whiskers to do. Now I'm going to sharpen this up because we really do need a sharp point for this. And then I'll come back and we'll put the whiskers on. Whiskers. Now you see we've got a few up there, so let's do a few of those first. The secret of this is to be very positive and zip them in like that. Don't draw them in, don't try. It won't work. And it'd be nice if we can get a couple going round the eye, wouldn't it? There's a couple going through the eye. That's nice. If it goes a bit long, all you do is just take a little bit off the end like that. That's great. I don't think I want any more. Now the other side, now it's always a good idea to work with natural angle of your hand. So let's put this away now and show you what I'm doing. And that is to zip them this way. So I turn it round. And repeat something similar. But I won't go through the eye this time. Now when you get that, just again, just touch it with your finger. Or you could use the colour shaper. That might be better. There you go. I think that's enough. Good. It looks good, doesn't it? These are the big ones, though. Now, these are the ones that go this way. I'll put that back again so you can see what I'm doing. Now, remember when I was doing this, I said, you're not going to see the whiskers unless we make that dark enough. Well, watch this. First of all, we do a test one. Like that. That works. A few more. Now bear in mind folks, I'm making this look easy. it isn't. There you go. I think that's probably all I want. Do I want any more? Again, you see, we've picked up a little bit of black. That happens when you go on top of the dark. It won't happen on the other side. But I like that. I think that looks good. Now, come the other way. Let's see if I can turn this round and show you how this works. Now, I'm doing it like this because I've got to go like that. And so let's get my natural angle for me. There we are. That's pretty good. Roll up your sleeve so you don't want to touch the animal. And then here we go. From there, you'll notice, you see if I can keep the lettering in there, you'll notice that I twist the pencil as I do it, like that. Woo, that went a bit far. Again, just touch it. Do I want any more? Well, I think we do need some down here. You can't see them very easy, but there'll be a few this way. I think that's fine. I didn't do any on the other side, did I? Let's do this. Just a few more here. Cats have an amazing amount, more than you think, more than I'm showing you here. But you've got to use a bit of artistic license. Now, I'm very happy with that. Let's turn it round. I think that's absolutely stunning, isn't it? Now, there's one thing left, signature. And this is a little bit of a dilemma when you get to sit. It's obvious where I'm going to put it there. But what colour do I use? Now, let's bring the colours in and show you. What colour would you use, folks? I'll give you a couple of seconds. Well, I'm going to use that one. It's a dark green. Anything darker would be too fierce. And it's always a good idea. I'm almost certainly going to cut this picture down a little bit. Not so much at the bottom, but maybe at the side. It's a bit too much green. So I'm going to put the signature here. Take the tail off of that. There we are. Finished. Well, there's the picture and the pencils. I hope that you enjoyed this. I certainly have. It's come up very well, and I'm sure that when you have a go at it, you'll find it not as hard as you think. Not easy, but then artwork isn't like that. But the way we do it, the way we produce our videos, we give you a line drawing, so it does help if you're not terribly good at drawing. And all the pencils and all the information's there. Take your time, but most of all, enjoy what you do. I'll look forward to seeing you again sometime. Bye for now.